I'm also now joined on the broadcast by Dr. Maya Bagwi, who is the Secretary of Medical Practitioners Society in Jaipur. Dr. Bagwi, thank you so much for joining me. We have seen ample protests from across Rajasthan, Jaipur, Dausa specifically. The fact that patients are also going to be affected, we will actually discuss that a little later. But the demands that you are putting forth in the wake of this suicide by Dr. Archana Sharma, just take our viewers through it.
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
Dr. Bagri, if you can hear me, I'd like to understand the demands of, all the doctors who are on a strike across Rajasthan. We also hear that doctors from Delhi AIIMS are also joining in this protest, because here we are talking about a family that targeted a doctor who lost a patient. What is it that you require the state government to be doing?
Of the Rajasthan state, they are joining for the strike. We want justice for Dr. Archana Sharma, because the persons who are responsible for this mishap, they may be some politicians or whatever police officers were there who mentally harassed Dr. Archana Sharma. We want justice for that lady. And we want punishment for these persons who are responsible for death.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm also now joined on the broadcast by Dr. Alka Kriplani of the Parvas Hospital. Dr. Kriplani, it's a pleasure to have you on the broadcast. We are discussing a very, very important issue, and a very, very unfortunate one at that that's come to light from Rajasthan. We're talking about a doctor, somebody from your fraternity, who's lost out on a patient because of postpartum hemorrhage. First, we'd like you to help our viewers understand what is PPH.
Postpartum hemorrhage is a condition where after delivery, there is excessive bleeding. And this is a very common condition in 5 to 8% pregnancies. This may happen, but serious PPH rarely happens. And it occurs in people who have high risk factors, like who have previously had postpartum hemorrhage, who have low-lying placenta previa, or those who have blood thinning disorders. But it can happen without any warning to any patient. So postpartum hemorrhage is a known complication of pregnancy, and whatever good facilities are there, pregnancy is such a thing that there are some complications which may arise in emergency, and then one has to deal with them.
How responsible should the doctor be actually held when you lose out on a patient because
Not
of this?
Not at all, because postpartum hemorrhage is a common condition where one gives drugs. There are standard protocols, but there is a condition like resistant postpartum PPH. Whatever you do, a patient may not respond. And in best of the centers, best of the places, best of the countries, the postpartum hemorrhage is known to create near miss mortality or mortality. So a doctor cannot be responsible for complications, because doctor is not God. They can manage a problem, they can fix the problem, but the outcome is not in doctor's hand.
Right. Dr. Kriplani, an FIR for murder under Section 302 was actually charged, was actually filed against Dr. Archana Sharma before she decided to take her life. What do you make of something as unfortunate as this really coming in?
This is very, very unfortunate. Time and again this is happening. Society is becoming so aggressive, targeting doctors, and this is an extreme case. How can you hold a doctor responsible and say that doctor is a murderer when he or she is trying to save a life? And everybody knows that outcome is not guaranteed in doctor's hand. Otherwise, anybody who is born will never die, because there are so many doctors. But everybody who is born will die because of some or the other disease or condition. So doctor can treat, doctor can try his best. But if a patient dies, unfortunately, And putting this murder charge on the doctor, it is so ridiculous, so foolish, so insensitive. Where you will get the doctors in next generation? Already doctors are leaving these type of specialties. And just think about if your daughter, your sister, your mother is a doctor and she is charged for murder. You know how hard obstetricians, whole obstetrics is an emergency. Day and night, we have spent our life taking care of these patients. And believe me, I was heading the Department of Gynae at All India Institute, training hundreds of students, and I have seen mortality occurring. So how can you say the doctor is a murderer?
Right.
When it is reported, it is well established that a patient can die. It is so unfortunate. I think you media, you everybody should take this case up. How a murder charge is put on the doctor. I mean, anybody, any person
Absolutely,
with
and this
little
is
knowledge
what we
will
intend
agree.
to do, Dr. Kriplani, because here we are also talking about a mother, because Dr. Archana Sharma was also a mother. In fact, that suicide note was heartbreaking that she left before she actually decided to take her life, was something that really speaks about the kind of mental trauma that she was suffering from, and who is answerable for that as well.
Much anchor, because often I have seen whole societies against doctors. Thank you so much for understanding. If you people, if media is there, if government is there, if remedial measures are not taken for such instances, I tell you the outcome will be very, very bad for the next generation, because we all are shaken. Since morning, I'm seeing patients that the neighbor practitioners are telling you may bleed. Naturally, if you people are putting them in charge of 302, who will take care of high risk cases? And believe me, if we stop in peripheries to take care of high risk cases, more and more patients will die, and you cannot force a doctor then. This is very unfortunate what our society has started. The repercussions will be on society only.
Absolutely.
People will not become doctors. People will not touch. I have got 2 such cases referred today. Nobody would like to, have the charge of murder when they are working so hard. So this is very sad. Please try to understand gravity of situation. It is not one case. It is not Archana's death. It is going to be whole female community is going to suffer, because no doctor will come forward to take risk, because if you people society is putting a murder charge on a doctor for when she is discharging her duty, this is height of, I don't know what to say.
Absolutely, Dr. Krimnani, those are very, very strong points that you're making. And thank you so much for actually being part of this particular discussion, because like everybody says, doctors are life givers. They are equated to God also. If you go ahead and call these life savers really murderers, how are the doctors really going to go ahead, and on what account are they going to go ahead and save your life? That's something that we must talk about.